Oh, let's get through this. Now, before we go through all of the things that we're going to go through right now, I want everyone to listen because I made some statements in the video and everybody was shocked and people were like stunned hearing this about Dana White and all of this stuff that was going on.
A good guy, guy
So
like
let's listen to the
well,
mother
like,
of Dana
he
White.
just had this great personality. People were attracted to him. They wanted to be his friend. They liked hanging out with him.
Dana White's mama
We
talking.
very close. We did a lot of things together. Dana, when I first moved back to Boston, he came back and lived with me for a while back there. Even back then, he'd be down at a bar with a friend or something, and he'd call me up and go, "Mom, we're having a beer down at, so and so's bar. Come on down, have a beer with us." I wrote this book because I don't like the person Dana's become. And the thing that pushed it over the edge for me was when his grandmother got sick and died this summer. His grandmother was one of those grandmothers that he was with a lot. She lived with us for a while. When he would go back east when we lived in Vegas, he spent time with her back there. So she was sick and dying, and he hadn't spoke to her in 2 years. And he called her up and told her, "Graham, I'm going to send my plane to get you. I'm going to bring you back to Vegas to live with us. You're going to have the best medical care money can buy." And then she never heard from him again. So, and that was typical Dana. So I really didn't even think twice about it. But the final straw was when I saw one of her neighbors. And her neighbor asked me what I was doing there. And I said, "My mom's sick and I'm down here taking care of her." And she said, "Oh, we thought she was gone." I said, "Gone where?" She said, "Well, she told us her grandson was coming to get her. She told everybody in the neighborhood that she wouldn't be here because he was coming to get her to take care of her now." So that just sort of pushed the final button for me. And, I was hoping the book, a lot of the stuff might bring him back or make him think about who he's become and what he does to people and the way he behaves. But I don't think it's really had that effect on him.
Now that grandmother passed away.
Yes.
Did he come to a funeral?
No. We had she was cremated in Florida, and then we had a funeral service for her up in Connecticut. And he never came. He didn't send flowers, card, nothing. Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from him for what he's done for MMA and the UFC. I mean, Dana has a high school education and that's it. And I think it's pretty amazing the things he's been able to do with MMA and the UFC. But he's not a good person. He seems to have lost his character somewhere along the way. He mistreats people. It's terrible the way he speaks to women and treats women. That really bothers me because I don't believe I've ever brought him up to behave like that. But he doesn't speak about me very often, and when he does, it's very short and brief. He doesn't like to talk about me. My mom was never around, but he doesn't seem to add to it why I was never around. I really did work like 80, 100 hours a week, so I was able to pick up a lot of money. But that was to pay for everything. If he didn't go to that school, if I didn't work all those hours, he would have never met the Fertitas. It's that sort of chain reaction thing. There would be no UFC.
Do you think Dana has used steroids?
I do believe Dana's used steroids. I hadn't seen any pictures of him for a while, and then I saw one and he had no neck. He was just like, and his seams were busting on his jacket, and I'm like, oh my God, what is he doing? So yeah, it certainly looked like it. I don't know if Dana fears me. I just really do think that he knows that I will probably be one of the only people who won't back down, won't kiss his ass, who won't take his crap. I'm his mom and I should never have to. And he knows I never would. he did in one interview say we're a lot alike. I have a hard time with Dana's marriage, I guess you could call it, because I am a believer. If you're married, and that's it. And if you don't want to be, and you want to be out with other people, then leave the person you're with. Don't make a joke of your marriage. But his marriage is a joke. Well, it's everyone knows that he puts Tiger Woods to shame. You know, he has plenty of the ring card girls sleep with him. There's two of them I know for sure. And I don't remember I don't know if I ever knew her name. She was the first ring card girl, and she used to do the Zions commercials for them too. But I know he was sleeping with her. It used to annoy me. The former ring card girl, Rochelle, he took her out, did a lot of things for her, helped her get into Playboy. She was trying to build a career, and she wanted to go well beyond being a ring card girl for the UFC. So Dana was with her at a number of functions and with friends, and it was pretty obvious that they had a relationship for a while. Yeah, he slept with a sister-in-law in my house, which made me absolutely furious. I mean, he goes after any girl he wants and usually gets them. So his wife they're constantly fighting. The honeymoon, she gave him the worst black eye I've ever seen. He nearly lost his eye. So I don't know if that's his way of handling it, but he's gone overboard with handling it.
Are you familiar with the Federal Trade Commission?
Yes, I know
And
them.
their investigation?
I've heard about the investigation, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's speculation that there's an investigation. I can tell you firsthand that there is an FTC investigation regarding the UFC because I've been interviewed by the attorneys from the Federal Trade Commission. So there's currently an investigation into the UFC's business practices by the FTC, and it's been going on for quite a while. Are you familiar with it? And if you are, what do you know about it? But more importantly, do you think that the UFC has a monopoly on the sport of MMA?
I've just read a few things about the investigation and that they hired a big time law firm out of New York to handle it for them. But I do believe they have a monopoly. I don't know how anyone could think they don't. I mean, anyone that starts to even be up and coming at all or poses any kind of a threat, or they're fighters or employees go to work for someone else, they buy them out or they drive them out. Yeah, I was really surprised when somebody came back to me and said that Dana had made those comments, that he was sick of me always wanting money from him. I had never, ever asked Dana for money, ever. I pay my own bills. Even when I went to all the fights, I paid for my own airfare, my own hotel room. I just got free tickets to the fights. But, I mean, that was pretty pricey. I wouldn't have been able to afford to buy them. He didn't give them to me. But I've never asked Dana for any money for anything. And as far as writing the book for money, I wasn't looking to get money. I didn't think I would make a lot of money off of it. And I haven't. I would love to see Dana change. I really would. I would like to see him become a better person. He has everything. I just keep saying that there's no reason to be that mean and cruel to people all the time, to be hurtful. I don't understand it. If he would just step back and think about it. Maybe he needs a psychologist or a shrink or something to make him see all of that. The person he's become from the person he used to be.
Now, let's get to the person we know. Now, if you've seen my YouTube video, then you would already know what we're talking about. Now, let's get to the stuff that you didn't know about. Dana White is the biggest piece of shit in piece of shit's history. And people seem to be mad. I pointed out that he was a piece of shit. His mom just backed up everything I said about him. That's his mother speaking. Now let's get to the people he's been hanging around. Because see, there's the dark world of Dana White. And with Dana White, it's always a whole nother thing when it comes to him. Oh, because we see him on television. It's always that. You see him on television and that's it. This man is a considerable asshole. He's an inconjurable asshole, rather. This guy, I can't even begin to go through all of the shit he's done. Here in Chicago, Anderson Silva's got a fight, and it's a terrible fight. He fights a shitty fight here in the UFC. Right the day before the fight, he's in a club called the Enclave with this damn Russian guy who I can't pronounce his goddamn name. Dana White comes down there and they're all doing fucking cocaine. They did cocaine on Friday night, they did cocaine on Thursday night, they did cocaine damn near the entire time. Anderson Silva thing is he was doing cocaine the entire time and kept going back to the club called Enclave. So when they had the actual UFC event, he stunk it up that night because he was too busy fucking around doing coke all night and saying, "Oh, this is an easy fucking fight. Don't worry about the fight. I got this shit." So he actually knew I can do coke all night and it'll be out of my system. All I got to do is take a shower and this and that. Dana White knows he's on coke. He's mad at everybody. He's got a fucking fight tonight. And if he fails this fucking piss test and then he fought like a piece of shit, he said, maybe we should given you some fucking coke before you came to the fucking ring because you fought like you were fucking dead in the fucking ring. I was embarrassed. They even put your name up and raised your fucking hand. Now, the Furtadas had power. Their fathers had power. Their father did not like Dana. He was like, okay, Dana's okay, that's your friend. But Frank Jr., and all these other guys, they really didn't deal with Dana White. But the Furtadas was part of an organized crime family. Okay, they're the ones that went out to protect Dana White when Dana White was into it with Whitey Bulger and he came running his ass over here broke to fucking Las Vegas. And it wasn't like they weren't going to catch his ass. He was scared shitless and he wasn't making money and he wanted to come back home to live with mama. See, Dana White don't tell you that part. He came back home to live with mama because everybody knows how they gonna get down. So he was thinking, shit, I'm gonna be killed by Whitey Bulger's people, or somebody's gonna blow my brains out. So he came back to live with mama for a while, but was afraid Whitey Bulger was gonna fucking have him killed some type of way because Whitey Bulger's out in the wind, shit, and his fucking crew's gonna come hit me. All kind of shit's gonna go down. So the Furtadas took care of his fucking problem. They always fixed it and came out to do shit for Dana. Dana was their boy. And the Furtadas, whatever you want to call them, were a bunch of racist fucking assholes. They had money. They was from Boston. They didn't give a shit about nothing. They were spoiled because they fucking organized crime fucking family. And they ran the fucking casinos down in fucking Vegas. They had some fucking casinos that they owned. Other than that, they decided, okay, they was in this bankruptcy scam, defrauding employees. Dana White was implemented in that. A whole bunch of shit's been going down, right? So while all of that shit was going on, and all the defrauding, all the shit was going on with that organized crime firsthand of the bankruptcy scandals, that shit had Dana White's name attached to it too. So when they took over the UFC, the relentlessness and the ruthlessness that came to the contracts, they start fucking over the fighters. The fighters were making good money, like Tito Ortiz and all this shit before they did this Reebok deal. But let me enlighten you to some shit. A lot of people don't really know. Here is the lawsuit. The United States District Court of California, San Jose Division. Chung Lee, Nathan Corley, John Fitch, on behalf of themselves and others, similarly situated the plaintiffs, Zuffa, LLC, Ultimate Fighting Championship, and UFC. They're the defendants. This is an antitrust class action complaint. Do you never hear anything about this case, do you? They never tell you anything about that case. And why wouldn't they not tell you anything about that case? Because telling you about that case implements Dana White's involvement in this case. It implements the Fertitas and the Furtadas into this big scam of stealing money and ripping off people with illegal contracts. Now they done knocked me out of focus. Nah, don't knock me out of focus. Stay with me, baby. Stay with me. See, they always want to do that, knock you out of focus. You see, what the UFC used to do is automatically renew the contracts. See, that was the biggest thing that they used to do and get away with. It was Zuffa didn't have any permission to do it, but they thought they did. So in 2019, behind the practices that was closed, they had Hal J. Singer, okay? And they brought a lot of information out about the case. A lot of information. They put provisions in the contract that people didn't know anything about. See, they could keep fighters locked in for as long as possible. One provision stated that the UFC is allowed to pause a contract if a fighter is injured or retired. Unwilling to appear in a bout, basically even in retirement, they allowed that UFC can remain in control of that contract unless there was a injury clause or something that would let them out of it. They would automatically extend all contracts. UFC veteran Brian Caraway complained that that extension kept him in a 6 months contract for an injury that only put him out for 2 months, but they gave him a 6 month suspension and paused his contract. So therefore, Zuffa renewed the initial term of the contract and set numbers of times that their discretion's doubling or tripling the length of it and getting fighters to be stuck under contract. So Conor McGregor came and became a superstar overnight, and so he was fighting for peanuts, and he was getting like 29,000 to show, 29,000 to win, even though he was making the company tens of millions of dollars. See, allegedly, the standard practice was to offer a fighter an optional period with their existing contract with a new one with their fight, like holding all that stuff. See, the UFC can legally choose to forego any terms they want over their heads when they write a new contract and state that the UFC got the ability to extend it past 6 months if they want to. Let's say a fighter turned it down, we could do what we want. You can't tell us what to do. Hold on. Let me get this focus back. I don't know what's going on here. It should be automatically focusing. You see what they want to do? There we go. Now they want to fix it. You see that? See how they do you? It was starting to irritate me too. But you see how they do me, right? They killed Pride, they killed Strike Force, but they had to go to court because they were running a monopoly. So the FTC came in, which is the Federal Trade Commission, and that's why Bellator is doing what it's allowed to do it because they're trying to monopolize the MMA world. See, UFC is not a sport; it is a company. MMA is the sport. See, John Jones and Roy Nelson they did one of the shady negotiation tactics with them. The UFC employed the courtesy of the matchmaker Joe Silva, and they had disclosed documents claiming to lowball Nick Diaz on purpose. The threat of putting him on a preliminary slot for his last fight, even though against a real tough guy, this Hector Lombard, and to fight him for less than half of what he was contractually obligated to and to receive for his last fight in exchange for not being released for the promotion. In other words, fight for less or you fired based off this information. The claim the UFC fighters or independent contractor they come into question due to the control of the company and all the things it possess over the employment of its own personal opinion and all that stuff. But all of that stuff gets discredited. But most of the competent fighters and their complaints against Dana White, they don't really do shit because all they're gonna do is pay the contract or they're just gonna have to keep fighting. So all of these things about Dana White, his life, his world, it comes crumbling down because this guy cannot control himself. He's a power junkie. He came up in the criminal underworld, and this is what it details. Um, Dana White took the girl, Michelle, that used to be a UFC ring card girl. She was working for Playboy. So during her time at Playboy, she decided that she was going to do the Zion's ads and all these other things. He took Michelle's arm, right? Though they were playing in the house, he was playing some cards, took his arm, twist her arm back and made her fall to her knees over whatever the conversation was about. And some of the fighters who were there stopped Dana. Now, this has been an ongoing situation for a very long period of time. You know, Rachel Lee and Amber Nicole Miller, both ring card girls. And they used to do all the Zion's commercials. Now, Amber Nicole ended up going out with Tito Ortiz, Dana's former friend, who he used to manage. Tito Ortiz, Dana White used to do cocaine together. Now, one of the women decided that this is a good time to come after Dana White, who became a victim of a sex tape scandal. He was secretly recorded having sex, okay? And was they wanted $200,000 for the tape. I told you this shit gets to the max. Now, oh, Dana White's been a piece of shit for years. Well, here's the thing. The personal trainer, supposedly, of Dana White, this real estate guy, you know, he was like a big like junkie for action and fiends and girls and everything, right? So anyway, this real estate agent and personal trainer, he pled guilty in federal court for extortion and serving a 366-day prison sentence. He accused Dana White in his suit of breaking a 2016 deal, which would have paid him $450 for not disclosing Dana White's name during a criminal case. Because it was a $200,000 sex tape extortion. You see, that was the problem back then. Yeah, it was Brendan Schwab in 2018. They And that's when he called Dana the well, the thing is, because Brendan Schwab and them, it was a big problem with them with their contracts. Mostly the Reebok deal. Now, Dana White ended up interfering with her boyfriend at the time, Brendan Schwab. He was dating Ronda Rousey. So the fact that he kept calling them Eskimo brothers, and an Eskimo brother is somebody, two guys who slept with the same girl. So it's like, look, we're Eskimo brothers. Now, well, when you look at the scenarios of what's going on with Dana White, and you start to see the connections, you start to see all of this shit come together. He told Anderson Silver he was gonna fuck him up for doing that cocaine in Chicago and fuck over his whole career. And ever since then, he was giving him shitty fight after shitty fight, trying to put him off. Don't his contracts, extending it out, and he kept pissing him off. He wants trying to get anybody to beat Anderson Silva. He hated his fucking guts. Dana White can sue all he wants. I can give a shit about Dana White suing because I could pull up every fucking thing I'm talking about. So I doubt Dana White wants to even go that route with me. He's got a machine gun in his office that's full of cocaine and heroin. It's wrapped in $1 bills, an AK-47, and it's got all that shit on it. So, well, He's never gonna live this shit down because it's true. He's destroyed a lot of women's careers, a lot of ring girls' careers. Oh, well, here's the thing. What is he gonna do? Dana White had a sex tape filmed by that Edgar Ramos, right? And they had a deal, according to that guy, to pay 450,000 in exchange for not disclosing his name after the criminal case was closed. So he did not include Dana White into this case. Dana White said that it was bullshit. The guy went to federal prison for trying to extort me 5 years ago because Dana had a powerful lawyer. Now he's hired a lawyer who's also a convicted felon. He's trying to extort me again for $10 million. He got no money from me last time. He won't be getting no money from me this time. I look forward to the court dismissing this quickly so I can get rid of these scumbags forever. That's how Dana operates. Everybody else comes in. So he comes in and he beats his wife, and he got mad at Paige Van Zant because she basically was fucking Dana White, and she first came in as eye candy, and he wanted to make her into a real fighting superstar, and didn't realize this girl just is not a UFC fighter. That even the soft fights, they're gonna just kick her ass. She tried very hard, but in the end, she's just not a UFC fighter. He thought, whoa, what a pretty face. And then next thing you know, her face is getting busted up and she's bleeding all over the place. And they're like, this is not what we want to see when it comes to her. So then she's on Dancing with the Stars. She's doing all of these different shows, and they want to see her do stuff like that. But it'd be cool if she could actually win a fight or two. Well, the karate hottie is the real, she's the real deal. Michelle Waterson, she's actually hot. So now they got this chick on the Food Network. She's doing everything that Dana wished he could have done with her. But when he was fucking with Paige Van Zandt, she thought it was okay. I'm through the door now. This is not going to be a continuous thing. So now she's dating somebody in the UFC, and he didn't like that shit. Um, he decided, shit, like I need her because I need to be right. He got basically this Baywatch crew in there instead of promoting his actual talent. He kept trying to make fucking stars. Like I'm gonna just take anybody and make them stars. I could show you, I can make the UFC. It's like The Conor McGregor shit was an accident. Conor came there and promoted himself. Dana had nothing to do with that shit. And once he started winning and Dana just got aboard and started, let me manage it. But other than that, he didn't do shit. All he does is talk a good game and talk shit. That's all he does. Then he started fucking with Jake Paul. Jake Paul, he kept saying, oh, he's not going to fight him. He's not going to fight him. He's not going to fight him. Jake Paul has made more money. Jake Paul had way more money and made more money and anything Dana was doing. Dana White has went out to try to sabotage the promotion of Jake Paul fights. He was mad the Tyron Woodley fight took place. And he's like, well, go fight those other guys. Don't fight my guys. Yeah, Dana White is like, he keeps calling me a cokehead. Because you're a fucking cokehead. If you laid off, I'll take a random 10-day coke day. Like, you going to take 10 days off of coke? Great. But shit, dude, you was always on coke during those early days. You was doing coke like 100 miles an hour. You, Tito Ortiz, all y'all fucking coke boys. It's like, stop your lies, Dana. Yeah, Dana's life is a fucked up movie. Now, according to Dana White shouldn't even be in the office right now in the current situation. Let's go to Dana's actual fucking statement. There's Dana White right there. What did he say about there's one thing you could never bounce back from, and that's putting your hands on a woman. Been that way in the UFC since we started here. You don't bounce back from putting your hands on a woman. That's his stance. Because he was speaking about Ray Rice, who plays in the NFL, not the UFC. It has nothing to do with Dana White. Dana White wanted to speak on the Ray Rice situation and said there's no place for that and we have no standard for that in the UFC. That was in 2014. Here we are in 2023, New Year's. And now, by your own admission, you should already have your bags packed and be out your goddamn office because there's no place for that in the UFC. You just spoke it up your goddamn self. But let's see how much of a liar Dana White actually is. Because that's all he does is lie. That and do coke. So, come on, Dana. Let's see what you're going to do now. I'm out.